All right. Um, I haven't done a whole lot of work with this. Um, all I've really done is clean up everything, and then I've attached these two containers together with aluminum foil, making this the PNP transistor with the aluminum in the middle, like the copper is going to be on the outside. This already has aluminum on both sides, but today's video is really about this coil. I had some insight last night on how to upgrade this coil and its connections. In the schematic that I've previously drawn, I have I have three connections coming out of this coil. Now this is a bare iron lump, or mass, I should say, of a loop of iron wire, galvanized iron wire, serving as an additional iron mass, but in a loop shape. So what I had in the schematic was this lead splits into two and connects with carbon rods, the pencil leads, which come down into the center of each of these two vessels, making this a 5-point transistor with 5 connections into it. A little bit, well, no, actually 4. Yeah, no, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Can't count. And then this was going to be a single lead to a single carbon rod that went into the center here. But I had some ideas about how to change this. I'm still going to have an iron mass loop, but I'm going to have an additional coil. So I'm going to have 2 coils. This iron mass will be connected by 1 wire only to the carbon rod going in the center of this so-called capacitor. I only call it a capacitor because it replaces the capacitor that used to be here, and it has both electrodes of the same metallic substance, namely aluminum. And I'm going to surround this with plastic wraps, food plastic wrap, saran wrap, serving as my dielectric, because that's polyethylene. It's supposed to be a very good, even better than mica that Tesla used in his day. And then surround that plastic wrap, saran wrap, plastic wrap, with painter's tape to keep it in position and add a little more non-metallic substance. I'm not sure paper is a dielectric. I don't think so. As I recall, according to Rickenbach, wood was not a dielectric. So paper derived from wood, it's just kind of a substance that separates things, but it doesn't really hold a charge, I don't think. You can create a charge rubbing it against something else that can hold a charge, such as plastic, but I don't think it holds a charge. Yeah, because it has friction, right? So you can induce friction with it with the help of paper if you rub it against the saran wrap, but we're not rubbing it here, we're just going to seal it. Now, in the center of this coil will be another coil, but tubular initially, in your mind. Think of a tubular coil, wrapped with insulated iron wire, floral wire in this case. But then we take the center of that tubular coil and we squeeze it down to the narrowest point possible so that it becomes the shape of an hourglass. If you can imagine this with a much more narrow middle section. This is my sugar cayenne pepper mixture. This stuff is fantastic. I love it. Mix this with peanut butter, and then mix it with water for drinking water to make the peanut butter tastier. Woo! Cayenne pepper and sugar and peanut butter. It's great. Anyway, so this hourglass figure, if you imagine the middle is squeezed all the way, that's the shape that I intend to make the center coil that goes in here. Now, it'll have one layer of winding. An end will come out of this base, this conic section, the base of this inverted conic section, and another wire coming out of the base of this conic section. And so one of those wires will go into the carbon rod for this vessel, and the other one will go into connect with the carbon rod going into this vessel. Now, since this is so widely spaced, there's a little gap. There's quite a gap there of that center, and even more so because I'm going to make it even more pinched than this. And I don't want to rewind this. I'm just going to separate the small loop from the larger one and rewind the smaller one into a pancake coil so that it comes in as close as possible to this, because I want them to magnetically couple. I want them to have a good connection, and so the only way to do that is to have it close together. I could have rewound this, and I might do that, but if I don't do that, the lazy way is to do one large loop and then extend it inwards with an iron pancake winding to come in close proximity to the pinched center of these two conic sections, hourglass, tubular or cylindrical tubular winding coil. So I'll have my three connections, and they'll each be distinct. Now, I have to say something about this hourglass with the rings surrounding the center. That's a very cosmic symbol. The hourglass is the lingam, the the male member, and the ring around the center is the yoni, the vagina, the cosmic vagina, and it's pinching. So this represents the two cones that have become pinched due to the presence of the yoni. Yoni. The yoni is the magnetic that comes about as the result of the dielectric line of force, which is the pinched dielectric line of force, but has some girth to it, some diameter, so it's tubular. And so it's able to have that pinched. Otherwise, if it was just a line without any diameter, girth, dimension to it, it wouldn't be pinchable, would it? But we're just doing this as a concept in our mind. So it is a dielectric line of force, but it's got a stressor pinching it in the middle. So conceptually, it's two conic sections, even though geometrically it is not. It's still a straight line. Okay? So that's what I envision to do. I'll do a 3D on Tinkercad to exemplify what I've just described, but I needed to do a video to describe it. It's still everything else the same. It's just the coil is going to be a little more complicated. So you see, anything that's cylindrical now is complicated. This has layers of different substances that are spherical, alternating layers, dielectric, copper, iron. And now this is going to have layers and separation of two separate coils, each serving a different function. A male, a dielectric function, and a magnetic function. And the magnetic lump or loop is connected to a dielectric capacitor, of all things. While the dielectric conic tubular coil in the center of this is connected to the PNP transistor, which is really two diodes modified, two capacitors modified to be diodes, but they're still capacitors, but they're diodes. Sorry for all the coughing. Well, that's my update, and I hope you enjoyed it. Well, I just thought of something. As above, so below. As is the cosmic body, so is the personal body. This is a Vedic expression which has come to be known in Western philosophy as a standard philosophical premise to our relationship with the greater, and also how the macrocosm reflects the microcosm and vice versa, how scale really does not matter, how every corpuscle, shall we say, of the cosmos is a, what do you call it? Oh God, I just lost the word. It's a modern term for every little corpuscle reflecting the greater, every microcosm being a miniaturization of the cosmos, so that you can divide the cosmos all you want, and it still is structurally the same. There's no separation like we do in circuits of, okay, the capacitor goes here and the coil goes over there. No, I forget that there's a term for it. I forget what the word is. Anyway, so that's what came to mind, because the Ammann brothers called their circuit a cosmic generator. And at first I thought that meant, well, they must be getting power from the cosmos, but only if you consider the possibility that they're getting it from somewhere other than physical space. If they're getting it from ether, from counter space, then it's not so much they're getting it from the cosmos, so much as it's a reflection of the cosmos as to how they do it, because this coil, or pair of coils, is a cosmic function. And so they have miniaturized the cosmos down into their circuit. And that's what I am more inclined to suspect, is that thematically, their circuit represents the functioning of the cosmos and how to extract power from the cosmos. Well, you have to contact the cosmos by creating a model, kind of a voodoo model of the cosmos in this pair of coils. And then the rest of your circuit is your means of extraction, of interacting with the cosmos to get something useful out of it. Sounds familiar? So it's a little voodoo when you think about it. But it's voodoo of a type that goes back to shape, cymatics, shape, how shape and frequency align with each other. Because it's not just frequency now that we are putting into resonance, it's amplitude. So we want to contact not just the resonant frequency of the cosmos, but we want to, more importantly, contact the relationship that frequency has with the amplitude of the cosmos, because there is a relationship between the two. The frequency of the cosmos would not be what it is if it had not been for the amplitude, and vice versa. They are, again, male and female conjoint pairs, conjugate pairs of each other. And so that's what we're doing here. We've got a conjugation of pairs of opposites that complement each other, and because we need both frequency and power in our circuit, we're not creating, we may be inducing a DC output, I suspect, but we are contacting the cosmos, which is not DC. The cosmos is an oscillatory instrument, and so we have to tune into it, tune into its frequency, but more importantly, get its amplitude as well, or else we're just going to be stuck with a wimpy little circuit that buzzes barely audibly in terms of amplitude. We want the amplitude. So it's really both that we want. The frequency is like the signature. It's the information, the yin, the yoni, the female, while the energy is the male, the amplitude, the yang. We want both, and they both come together as pairs, energy and information, or frequency, signature. So we want both, and that's the holism that we wish to extract from nature. or as Nikola Tesla might say, the wheelwork of nature. Oh boy, he sure did give us a hint there. Wheel, loop, coil, oh ho, ha ha. Something that rotates. Well, see, that's the other thing about this. The Yanni is circular, or I should say, since it pinches and creates an hourglass, it probably creates torsion along the length of the dielectric, causing spinning to occur surrounding the dielectric by twisting, by creating tension that wants to twist the dielectric line of force. So the dielectric line of force doesn't move because it's dielectric, it's electrostatic, it can't move, but it does have lines, helical lines of tension, squeezing it, causing it to pinch in the middle. And so that exterior to this, you do get a rotation, creating a magnetic loop. So, right. That sound decent? I think so. I forgot to mention, why is this crimped at this point anyway? What would cause it to be crimped here with a magnetic loop around this dielectric line of force as opposed to over here, or anywhere else? Because this line extends off into space. Well, this terminates at an atom, and this terminates at an atom, but this is also a terminus of an atom. In other words, there's multiple lines of force crossing, two or more crossing at this point, causing multiple cones of shapes, conceptually speaking, because they're cones only in the sense of pressure, of pinching here, and creating a vortex, a helical lines of tension surrounding the outside of this line of tension that's going here. So geometrically, it's still a line, a dielectric line of force, but conceptually, we have to make it like a tube in order to envision it being crimped here, because there's multiple cones coming out and multiple magnetic loops surrounding each crimp point of each line of force that's being intersected with the other one. That's what creates an atom, are two or more dielectric lines of force interacting or intersecting with each other, creating multiple magnetic loops that are the electron loops in orbit around the nucleus. And the nucleus is the combination of the two or more dielectric lines of force acting in conjunction with each other to create the illusion that we have a point mass, namely a nucleus of a single atom of some substance, differentiating it between helium or hydrogen or beryllium or sodium, as if they're different, which they are, but they're not really in terms of their composition, because it's just how many dielectric lines of force are passing through that point in space. So the creation of matter is really the warp and weave, or is it the woof? The warp? No, the warp and weave of the fabric of creation. We've got the space of creation, but then we've got this crisscrossing weave action going on that creates matter. And so gravity, as we see, is an effect. It's not a cause. It's not an a priori cause. The a priori cause are dielectric lines of force. That is the foundation of matter, but also space. So we have space, and then we have dielectric lines of force intersecting with each other, creating magnetism, gravity, inertia, momentum, whatever, everything you can imagine that is spatially conceptual. That's all going on. And I've had this theory in my head for quite some time. In fact, the second book I have published on Amazon is on the theory, unless it's the first book. I just went through 3 revisions and no, I think it was the second one. It's pure theory. So if you go back in time, you go to amazon.com/author/Vinyasi. That's a shortcut, shortened URL, and that redirects to my author's page. And it's 30 plus books there. And if you go back in time, the penultimate earliest edition of something that's still in circulation, still available, is the theory. And that's what the idea I had back then is a little different than now. It's just a little more flourishes, like helical lines of tension surrounding a dielectric line of force that conceptually could be considered a tube, pinched, where we have an intersection point, causing it to look like an hourglass. But that's only a concept. It's not. It's a concept of forces of tension, so that we can conceive of the tension going on in constructing creation. So we have to create these shapes to show the tensional forces, but that doesn't mean that's the way it is shaped. It's just the way the tension is shaped, which is really all that matters when you think about it. Because it's the tension, the geometry of the tensional forces that is the creation of the universe. So, hey, it works for me.